We want to welcome you on behalf of the League of Women Voters, which is a nonpartisan organization for men and women promoting informed votes. The League does not take position on candidates, does not promote candidates one way or the other. It promotes your learning about the candidates. It does take positions on some issues after long and careful study, and then announces those to the public, but it's all on a bipartisan level. We want to thank Huntington High, as always, for providing the venue, Kathleen Turner, and all of the social studies civics instructors who do such a wonderful job, and certainly not least your students who look and prepare the questions and come and think carefully and become informed voters. And remember, as Ms. Turner says, we have the representatives from both local and state voting authorities, and they'll be right outside. You can go out and talk with them. Oh, I want to thank our last-minute fill-in timekeeper, too, Mr. Sitkin, in the back here. Our candidates have been, our rules, they have 1 minute to answer the questions, and then 1 minute for a final wrap-up, and Mr. Seals will give you a wave when you have 15 seconds left on your question answering and on your final remarks. We thank you for that. And don't want to forget Allison Atkins, the broadcast journalism class here is videotaping, and the morning's activities will be on YouTube in 2 or 3 days. You can access that and tell parents, everybody will get the word out as much as we can so that you can follow up and remember what was said. Now, we just had a candidate who was here, Philip Payton from Milton, and he was just called away just in the last few minutes. And so he gets credit for coming. It's a family emergency. He had to leave. We have with us Ruthie Phillips, who is a Republican from Laredo, West Virginia. Marty Gearhart, a Republican Paul Davis, a Democrat from Huntington.
Check. 1, 2. Dr. Ryman.
Thank you. Yeah, again, a short person's challenge. And Conrad Lucas, who is a Republican from Huntington. Yesterday, Janice Hagerman, a Democrat from Mount Hope, who had planned to be here, she's a traveling nurse, and her assignment was changed, and so she had to cancel. Then we have 2 others with conflicts. Rick Snuffer, a Republican from Grandview, and he is a high school tech electrical education teacher, and he was called to teach and couldn't leave. And then Carol Miller, a Republican from Huntington, is traveling with her grandchildren, and her son is here if you would like to speak to him, and he would be happy to tell you about Delegate Miller's positions and anything you wish to know, and he'll be sitting over here in the corner. Richard Ojeda, we don't know what happened there. We thought he was coming, and he is a Democrat from Holden, and maybe he will turn up. We don't know. We had no reply from Shirley Love, a Democrat from Oak Hill, and Dr. Ann Amjad, a Republican from Beckley. So that's our lineup for today. We will have the candidates. I just drew numbers, and they're sitting in random order. We will start down at the end there with Mr. Phillips to answer the questions and come this way. And then at the end, I'll draw a name for the order of wrap-up. And I think that's that. Oh, and I forgot already, our Secretary of State's office has brought a number of these. Get ready to vote. And be sure you take one home if you don't have one for yourself, for you, parents, grandparents, neighbors, anybody. Hand them out. Okay. We are ready for our first question.
Okay, first question.
Who's on deck?
Come on. Guys, again, those of you that
Yep, line up, be
those of
speedy
you that
about, we want to get in
volunteered,
as many
soon as
questions
one
as we
of you
can.
sits down, you hop on up back up here.
What are your goals for West Virginia's 3rd Congressional District?
Everybody here? What are your goals for West Virginia's 3rd Congressional District? Mr. Phillips, go first.
Well, you know, being from down Logan County, it's a very strong coal county. And I feel southern West Virginia has benefited a lot of years over coal. But do we need to diversify? Sure we do. You take 64 through here along with the river, the rail, and the 4-lane, it's got, and the airport, it's got great opportunity to grow. You go over to Raleigh County, you got a phenomenal airport, you got 64, 77, King Coal Highway, the Coalfield Express being built to tie in, you know, just south of here to really bring in some manufacturing, some jobs. We've got to get a better workforce in here. We've got to clean up the opioid addiction. And that's probably the first step is really trying to get a strong workforce. And y'all guys are part of that. Stay straight, do good, go to college, get a great degree. If you don't go to college, at least get a technical degree. Learn some skills. Thank you.
I'm Marty Gearhart. The goals that I have for the 3rd Congressional District are probably too numerous to mention within a 1-minute segment. So if you want to go to martygearhart.com, you can find out more about what we talk about. However, I do want to stress that the most important thing that we can do here is to work hard to advance our economy. And we can do that through a variety of different circumstances, part of which the President has already taken on with tax reform. But we need to continue tax reform to keep good, solid, low rates on individuals and businesses so that we all have more money in our pocket and we can advance this economy. We also need to deal with regulatory reform where we are keeping regulations reasonable. However, we're not making them onerous on business so that business can, in fact, prosper. We have a variety of other social items that are important and are part of our goals for this district. The drug problem that we have in the state of West Virginia has overtaken us. And we've got to really get after that in a variety of different ways. And we have some plans to accomplish that I believe that will push us forward and keep our workforce drug-free and able to do the things that we need to know. So we have a lot of goals and a lot of things that we can accomplish. And once elected, I look forward to hitting the ground running.
Well, I'm a little outnumbered here. I got three Republicans and 1 Democrat. So, but anyway, my name is Paul Davis, as I was introduced, and my goals for Southern West Virginia are the same ones we've had for Huntington all these years. And I've had the good opportunity to have a lot of economic development experience with Pullman Square. I had the opportunity to help bring $36 million to Huntington, and you guys, a lot of you are young enough or old enough to remember what Pullman Square was, or when they used to call it Super Block. And so we can bring economic development across the state and across Southern West Virginia. We have to have infrastructure, roads, and I'm sick and tired of people like you having to leave once they're educated and leave. It's the brain drain you go to Marshall or even West Virginia University. I'm tired of you folks having to leave. I just had 2 sons that graduated here from Huntington High School, and we were scared to death that when they finished at Marshall that they were going to have to leave Huntington and leave the area because they wanted to stay. It would have been great if it's their choice to leave. But we have to create jobs. We can do that, and it will be through economic development and infrastructure investment.
I'm Conrad Lucas, and I live here in Huntington. I tell you, my goals for the third district is simple. I want you all to stay here. I want every young person in the state of West Virginia to have the opportunity to continue to be in West Virginia, to work in West Virginia, to raise your family in West Virginia, because I think, deep down we all want to have those opportunities here. I lived away for a while and then was able to move back, and I had one of those jobs where they said, Conrad, if you can find the internet and an airport, you're good. And however, there aren't a lot of places in southern West Virginia where you can find the internet and an airport and be able to be part of the modern economy, because what we have to do is diversify our economy with things like broadband. Because if you get a little ways outside of Huntington, you're in a lot of problems with broadband. You look at all of southern West Virginia, and we have a lot of problems with access. And that's everything from roads to getting online to be able to be part of the modern world economy. So, it's when I think about everything that we need to do here, it all gets back to jobs in the economy and how it is that we can make this an attractive place not only for our natives to stay, but to bring in other folks as well, because we want West Virginia to be an attractive economic place going forward.
Question.
Which goal do you consider your top priority to reach during your 2 years in the House, and why?
Next. Yep.
Well, thank you for the question. And I think the goals that I articulated first probably restated will accomplish that. We have vast problems here with building our economy. Our energy sector has been devastated over the last administration with regard to overregulation and frankly, discouraging utilizing our energy resources. So we need to continue to build our economy, whether it be through our energy resources, our manufacturing sector, or all of the other things that we can do here. Tourism in my part of the world, in southern West Virginia, with skiing and rafting and ATV work. All of those things are part of building this economy, and we need to do that through putting more money in West Virginians' pockets. The Trump tax reform that happened at the end of last year was a good first step, but we need to go further with that. We need to continue to see that our energy segment isn't over-regulated and put in a position where we can't sell what we have in abundance here in the state of West Virginia to help folks to prosper. Our economy is the most important thing. I mentioned last that we have a drug problem. There's no question that people that are prosperous, entrepreneurial, working hard, with a job to go to and have hope, are much less likely to fall into the drug trap. So we can solve a lot of problems by seeing that everyone in this room has the opportunity to be successful. Can't make you successful. Want to give you that opportunity so that you can go out and work hard and have in abundance what we have here in the state of West Virginia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, the drug problem is our biggest issue, as I see it, in our community today. And there's not one simple magic wand that we're going to be able to have to do, but people have to have hope. And when we live in communities where, we don't have the jobs, we don't have the things that we need, we need to have hope. And so it needs to start early on in education. When we think about kindergarten, first grade, that we have to set up mentors and people that, to be quite frank with you, there's a lot of folks that as they're growing up, and I learned the terminology a couple of years ago when we were trying to help raise things for your all's food bank here at Huntington High and at Cabell Midland, couch surfing. I never heard that terminology before. And it was where students are having to go from friend's house to friend's house to friend's house to someplace to live and sleep, and then the next night they may go someplace else. So it goes back to when we're talking about the drug problem. It has to start at kindergarten and proper education. And be quite honest with you folks, you guys are going to help us solve that problem, because you're going to have to be able to be mentors to your younger people and make the right decision. So the drug problem, first responders, and seniors are my emphasis.
You asked top priority for first term, so if I can give you two, because I got a tie on it, but and they're both kind of boring, but we've heard so many great things that have come out as a result of the tax reform package that was passed. People are seeing more money in their paychecks. We're seeing some more investments, and however, not everything in that is permanent. A lot of that has the potential to expire. And so I think if we're seeing all these great things continuing as a result of it, some of those components to it need to be made permanent. Particularly if we're going to see the continued growth in the economy as a result of it. So there's some parts in it need to be made permanent, so we don't see taxes skyrocket and go crazy like they have the potential to do. And another thing, we are always going to talk about the energy sector here in West Virginia because we've seen such a strong coal built the state. And powers our economy across the world, our economies across the world. West Virginia coal does that. But there's some parts, some regulations that need to get changed to help ensure that coal cannot be attacked in the way as quickly as it had been in some past administrations. So there's some regulatory fixes that I think that we need to do, which will ultimately lead to investments in our economy and stabilize things here in West Virginia.
Thank you very much. Next question, Brett. Oh, sorry, my goodness. No.
That's okay. You know, back when Trump first got elected, I had a lot of people ask me, Rumpy, do you think Trump's going to put the coal miners back to work? And I said directly no. But what is he going to do? He's going to create jobs. He's going to create manufacturing jobs. Along with that, they're going to have steel, which is made from our metallurgical coal in southern West Virginia. They're going to have energy that comes from our coal from West Virginia. Along with that, if we bring them and make West Virginia attractive to manufacturing, from tax reform to incentives to come here, we're going to have a cheap energy source. And a company don't want to come here if they can't be productive and profitable to their shareholders. So I'm going to push the energy sector that we have here in southern West Virginia and all of West Virginia and create jobs. Jobs is it. And as has been said here, y'all are our future. We can't do this without you. Y'all got to get out in the workforce and be productive. Thank you.
Thank you.
What can be done to make our drug problem, especially opioids, decrease?
Could you repeat, please?
What can be done to make our drug problem, especially opioids, decrease?
What can be done, especially with our drug problem and especially opioids, to decrease? Mr. Davis, you go first.
Well, folks, it's all about supply chain. And when we think about the drug trafficking that's coming into Huntington, from Detroit or wherever, we have to have stronger police force. We have to cut them off at the knees. We have big pharma, these folks that are bringing drug trafficking. I was so surprised, and I know many of you read what in Williamson, West Virginia, how many of those painkillers were coming into Williamson area alone. It has to start with good, like we were talking earlier, good education. We have to start early on. If someone slips through the cracks, we have to offer rehab and try to make them, healthy again. Folks, once you go down that path, many times it's not going to be a good thing. And so, but it does start with police. It does start with cutting off the supply chain, and so that these drug dealers and other things are not making money and profiting from our citizens. I had a very good friend just recently passed away from an overdose, his son, and we just can't take it any longer. But it has to start with enforcement, and it has to start with stopping these drug companies from being able to make bukus of dollars from our citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Lucas.
Guys, this is Huntington. We hear about this every day. We hear about every day there are new problems, and I tell you, it's. I saw a tweet yesterday from the new U.S. Attorney here in Southern West Virginia who said that the city of Huntington needs to figure out a way to levy some kind of fee on the city of Detroit to help us pay for our problems. If that was possible, we should. But It's an all the above solution. To fix this, we have to stop the flow of the drugs into West Virginia, into our country. We need to limit in ways, there's been some federal discussions on limiting the amount of opioids that can be prescribed to a person unless it's medically necessary for a period of time. We need to look at the responsibility of some of these manufacturers who are involved in this. We need to look at some of the doctors who've been responsible for overprescribing. It's just there's so many issues. There isn't one solution because for the prices to have gotten this badly, thank God that we have our police and our first responders here to help keep us safe, and they always need the support and resources that we can give them. But it's everything from stopping, as you said, stopping the supply of these drugs into our community, and that's everything from elements of immigration reform, it's elements of litigation, it's elements of law enforcement. We just have to be able to stop things on all levels. But a lot of times, a strong economy can do a lot of good. We saw the drug prices here get even worse as our economy here got even worse. So it's tackling the drug problem as it is and getting to it at the source, but it's also providing and looking for ways that we can strengthen our economy, because I tend to believe that people will turn to a good job if they have the opportunity to, and that can help keep them off the streets. But that doesn't answer it. It is stopping everything from the suppliers to all the problems we've seen. But I'm just so thankful that we have strong police and strong first responders out there to help keep us safe.
Thank you. Phillips?
Me and Marty Gerhardt, we're both state legislators. And we both have voted and passed bills these past 3 years that's been trying to make it stronger and hold people accountable for their actions. And you would not believe how we have to sit on the chamber floor and hear the amendments of trying to weaken a bill that we're getting ready to pass. So my belief is we've got to hold people accountable. Big pharma, doctors, the lobbyists that lobbies for them, we've got to hold them accountable, hit them where it hurts, in their pocket. And and it's a choice. It's y'all's choice to either do it or not do it. And I hope and pray you don't do it. And I hope your parents talk to you every day. Because, again, what I've been saying, y'all are the future. We need y'all. Thank you.
You, Mr. Gerhardt?
There are a lot of ways we need to attack the drug problem. I'm going to give you 5 real quick, and I'm going to dwell on the last one. The first one we've mentioned: if you're working and you have a job, you have hope, you're less likely to fall into drugs. The second of which would be to control immigration and the flow of drugs that come across our border. The third is we need to strengthen enforcement and be certain that those that are misusing our laws and supplying drugs are dealt with fiercely. The third is those that have fallen in, or the fourth is those that have fallen into that problem, we need to deal with as far as providing treatment and seeing that they get over it. The one I want to dwell on a little bit, though, is prescription limitations. We just passed a bill in the House of Delegates, sent it to the governor, that limits the number of opioids that can be prescribed to an individual, thus taking a lot of drugs off the street. On a federal level, we can deal with this as well, and I'll give you a quick story. My father had knee surgery not long ago, and he left after knee surgery with a prescription for 100 Oxycontin pills. There's an 82-year-old man in Radford, Virginia now that has 98 Oxycontin pills in the cabinet, available to whatever nefarious means that someone might be able to try to get their hands on it, because he took 2, scared to death of becoming addicted. We need to take some of this off the street by limiting the amount of prescriptions that, frankly, legally are put out there, so that folks are able to not have all of that can be utilized and sold on the black market.
Thank you, Mr. Gerhardt. Next question.
What are some suggestions to improve the availability of jobs in West Virginia, especially for our young people?
Would you repeat the question loudly?
What are some suggestions to improve the availability of jobs in West Virginia, especially for our young people?
Did you get that?
Yep. And again, great question, because so much of our state's future depends on us being able to develop an economy here that keeps everybody in this room in West Virginia, or at least gives you the opportunity to stay here, and for friends like yourselves from other states to come here. I mean, we don't have a modern economy in West Virginia because we don't have the things that companies look for. Again, you know, I'm always going to harp a lot on broadband issues and on the types of modern infrastructure. You know, you think about like last year, Amazon announced that it was looking for a second world headquarters because they had the one out west, and they were so big they wanted to have another one. Well, West Virginia, of course, we really couldn't effectively market ourselves to be the site for Amazon because what did they need? They needed, of course, a strong broadband. They need, of course, strong air systems, strong everything that any kind of Fortune 500 major world corporation would need. So it's the types of modern jobs that young people are going to be looking for that we just don't have the infrastructure at the moment, but we can get there to help provide for. And you know, broadband is always going to be a major component to anything that I'm ever up to in helping to eliminate regulations that that prevent investment in West Virginia, and to try to break down a lot of the barriers that prevent us from having a modern economy. So I mean, because there are a lot of jobs now you can pretty much do anything from anywhere. You know, like I said, at one point in time, I just needed the internet at an airport, and that helped me. And my office was the Barkersville Starbucks because that's what I needed as part of a modern economy. But in most parts of southern West Virginia, you just can't do that. So it goes to helping our rural communities be able to diversify their own economies, because ultimately, if you can do any job anywhere, it's our quality of life here in West Virginia that I think will ultimately be attractive to folks. So again, helping us have that modern economy with diversification of what we offer already through a lot of and breaking down the barriers that have kept a lot of broadband investment out of the state.
Thank you.
Well, back in 2012, a very good friend of mine at the time, he was a state senator, he went to a business summit in Oklahoma. And while he was there, he learned a whole lot. And when he come back, he told me, he said, Rupee, West Virginia is not business friendly. We think we are. We're not. I think over the past few years, we've come a long ways from that. But when I get to D.C., I'm going to work with the state government officials to make West Virginia friendly. I'm going to help with the infrastructure, the broadband, do whatever I can to the most of my needs, I mean just your needs, to help bring something into southern West Virginia. And again, I'm going to go back again, if you don't get the college degree, get a tech degree, learn a skill. I mean, there's still going to be welders, plumbers, electricians, all of that. We just can't all be doctors. We all can't be dentists and pharmacists. We've got to, y'all have got to help us diversify too. If we don't have that workforce, we can't do it. So again, a lot of it relies on what you're going to do in your future to help what the elected officials can do. Thank you.
Gerard?
Thank you. One of the things I think holding this congressional seat gives you the ability to do is to advocate for southern West Virginia. Being the congressman from the 3rd Congressional District means that you're the ambassador, and you get to talk to people outside of this district and encourage them to be here. And you all may not know me too awful well, but you can probably tell I'm a sales guy by trade. I'm a small business, and in order for my business to be successful, I have to sell my product and sell myself. I have no question that I can do that with the folks around this country that would be interested in being in this part of the world with all of the great things that we have to offer. Also, I think we need to encourage young entrepreneurs like yourself that have great ideas of things that can be successful. We need to encourage you all to get out and get in the business place, bring your ideas to the market, so that you also are advancing yourself and advancing the state of West Virginia. Finally, without any question, we need to continue to work on our infrastructure, whether it be roads and bridges, or whether it be broadband service and all of the other things that are associated with having a successful economy. We can do it here in West Virginia, and we can do it because we're positive about who we are, and we have that kind of attitude.
Thank you.
At the end of the day, folks, I can echo everything that these folks have said, broadband, infrastructure investment, but I kind of want to take you back down the road of livable communities and tourism. When you think about when you guys are getting ready to graduate from Huntington High, and you're going to make a decision on whether you're going to go to a college, go into the workforce, or you're going to go to a trade school to learn a trade. But at the end of the day, once you're fully trained, where do you want to live? I say you want to live in West Virginia. Okay? I say you want to stay right here because we need the best and brightest. But in order for that to happen, we absolutely have to make it a place you want to be. You can make whatever money you want to make. At the end of the day, if you're not happy where you are, then you won't stay there. We want to keep you, retain you, and it's going to be through infrastructure investment. It's going to be through livable communities like Pullman Square when you look downtown. We need to recreate that. I was in Greenbrier County 2 weeks ago, and if any of you have had the opportunity to go to Greenbrier and look at the downtown in Greenbrier, it's a delightful place to be. It's where you want to be. You just feel good, and there's everything to do there. I mean, there's food, entertainment, and other things. That's what we need to create in southern West Virginia, and I plan to do that when I'm in D.C.
Thank you. Next question.
All right. What can be done to make education after high school more accessible and more affordable?
Again, louder.
Oh, sorry. What can be done after high school? Sorry. What can be done to make education after high school more accessible and more affordable?
Thank you. Got it? Phillips, you first.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of scholarships offered, a lot of grants offered. West Virginia has the Promise Scholarship. But what can you do on a federal level? Well, I can promise you one thing. I'm not going to go to D.C. and vote for a tax increase. But colleges, we need to get costs in line, get it down to where it can be more affordable for whatever class of citizens that is in the state of West Virginia or in the country. So we just got to figure out a way to get the cost down and make it more accessible. A lot of community colleges in southern West Virginia, community college down in Logan puts a lot of people through, and I'm very fortunate to have that in my home county. But we just got to go to D.C. and fight and figure out what we can do, and when we get there, and I think every one of us on stage here is all about making sure you get what you need. But you got to be willing to be able to qualify for it too. And it goes back to what I've been saying. It's all up to you. We can't do it without you. Thank you.
I think that's an excellent question. It may be the most difficult question that we deal with today. A lot of education issues have to do with state items and the amount of funding that goes to the schools and the way that the individual schools spend their dollars. For those of you in the auditorium, I feel very fortunate because I went through college and came out with zero debt. However, at the time I went to college, it was affordable. My parents were willing to pay for my tuition. I lived at home. I worked a full-time job while I was in college, and I was able to have an automobile and a college education without any debt once I got finished. That's very difficult to do today. What I would say to you is that as you start to look at your career, you need to be certain that you match up the amount of debt that you decide to undertake with the career that you're going to pursue. If you plan to be an MD, you probably can take on a little more debt because your income is going to support that debt. However, if you're one of the long-suffering teachers that we have in the state and you take on $500,000 worth of debt, it's going to be difficult to repay that with the salary with which you're recompensed. So part of the way to make it affordable is to be certain that you match your career path with the amount of debt that you undertake and that you don't over-educate for your income level. So I believe that there are a lot of things that can be done. There are a lot of funds that are available out there, both federal, state, and private, that can help you to pay for that education. But keeping the cost down, a lot has to do with the institutions involved. And hopefully our institutions here in the state of West Virginia will continue to work to keep tuition and fees at an absolute minimum. Thank you.
this is pretty close to me. I just had a son graduate from Marshall, and now is the band director at Wayne High School. And we were very fortunate in the state of West Virginia that we had the Promise Scholarship, and he's ended up working his way through as a GA at Marshall and getting that. But we had another family member that just, and I'll echo some of the things they're saying here, is that the tuition rate has been growing so big, and they've been so so quick to give you guys student loans. If you really don't get a handle on that in the very beginning, you may never retire those student loans. So now what we have to do, we either cut back costs at the college level to trim their budgets, or we're going to have to find a way to make more scholarships available to you guys and people entering into the university system. I totally agree with, we need apprenticeship programs. We still need plumbers, electricians, and mechanics and technicians to work on buses, cars, and planes, and everything else. We just have to find a way to fund this, and it's not always going to be about cutting costs at the university level. Those university presidents, professors, other teachers at the universities deserve a living wage too. So we have to really concentrate on getting more money as far as scholarships and other things. And please have a good plan. You know, if you're going to do a 4-year degree, please don't drag it out to 6 to 8, 10 years. Get her done. Get her done within that 4 years, and that will help you contain your costs.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not too far removed from y'all's age, so let me tell you, if you want to talk about student loan debt, we can talk all day about that one. I know a lot about that subject from a personal standpoint, but to get real specific on it and how to fix it, colleges aren't stupid. Yeah, it's full of a lot of smart people who know how to do a lot of things. And one of the things that, and here's where the federal government here's where a federal representative can actually help you on that one, is what I always find interesting is every time that the federal government, because a lot of student loans are federally backed, most of them are federally backed. Every time they'll raise the amount that you're allowed to borrow, magically colleges will raise their tuition amount by just about that exact same number. So, because again, they're not stupid, they want money, and here's an opportunity, and a lot of folks, self-included, when you're 18 years old and you can literally go on a website and 20 minutes later borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars, you'll do it. And again, so what we need to do is look at the direct relationship between the federal student loan world and how that is controlled with the U.S. Department of Education, how their increases lead to direct tuition increases, which ultimately leads to costs on your end. So if the question was how can we make it more affordable, I think we have to look at exactly a lot of the sources of the tuition dollars themselves, and what, as a federal representative, you can do is crack down on some of the exploitation of students, frankly, and try to help streamline some of the costs there on your end. So if you do take out student loans, you can pay those off and you can start investing in things like houses and your family, because we all know that student loan debt is a major problem and does delay people starting their lives in the way that they want to. It prevents you from investing in your own future in a lot of ways. So they're a good thing that they're there, but they've led to, in many ways, they do often lead to the rising cost of tuition. So it's just a never-ending cycle. So as a federal representative, that's something that I can assure you is always going to be near and dear to my heart. And I always want to keep the cost of higher education low, because I think in many ways the federal government is to blame.
Thank you. Ready?
What is your policy towards gun control, especially automatic or assault weapons?
Did you hear that?
I did. I'm a gun owner. I'm a member of the NRA. And I believe oftentimes guns help to keep people safe. I don't think that guns need to be in the hands of convicted felons. I don't think they need to be in the hands of people with mental issues that have been documented. But I think many times in our society what we have done is we have removed our constitutional right to protect ourselves, and in doing that we have left many, many, many Americans vulnerable. With that said, I don't support gun control. I support Americans being able to exercise their constitutional right. Now, assault rifle is a misnomer of terms. Currently in this country, automatic weapons are not available for sale. You can, in fact, buy a semi-automatic weapon, and the difference is not that difficult. For a semi-automatic weapon, you have to pull the trigger for each time a round is released. So when you say assault weapon, I don't believe that you're going to find the same thing that's on the battlefield in Iraq on the streets of our country being used. However, if someone is available, were to come into this auditorium with a semi-automatic weapon, I believe that the students in this auditorium would be much safer by someone back there at the entrance that had the ability to defend everyone in this auditorium. We have a right in this country. It is the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. I believe in it and will defend it with every vote that I cast in Congress.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe in the Second Amendment, and I will defend it to probably my very last day. My father, actually, when I was 5 years old, I've been a hunter most of my life, but gave me a gun, a .22 long rifle Winchester for Christmas when I was 5 years old. I'm a member of the NRA, so I too believe that if we create soft zones, okay, bad people are going to do bad things, and I don't care if they're going to use whatever tool they have, whether it's a bomb or a car or a truck, they are going to do bad things. And I will tell you that if you, whatever you need to do, if we go, okay, I want to get back on the soft zones. We create soft zones in this country every day, and this is a soft zone. And I believe the Big Sandy Superstore Arena today is a soft zone, because now they're checking you at the door and making sure that even legally owned rifles by somebody that's not mentally deranged, they take their guns away from them. I believe that I should have an opportunity to protect the people, just like he was saying. And when they walk through the door, I will defend that right until the very end. And I know that's a little bit wavering from what the Democratic Party is doing right now, but I'm a gun owner, and I load my own shells. Folks, I think we still need to protect the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment not only protects the right for you to keep and bear arms, but it keeps our government in check. That's what the framers were originally thinking, that, okay, we need a strong military, and so that even if the government totally got out of control, we could still, as citizens of this United States, protect ourselves from a bad government, basically. So.
Thank you.
Amen to all that. I'm an NRA member. I'm a gun owner. I'm a member of the Citizens Defense League. I firmly believe that in our Constitution spells out very, very simply that our rights are to keep and bear arms here in the United States of America. So I'm very proud of the Second Amendment, and I think oftentimes when we hear folks talk about all types of gun control, we need to think more closely about people control and the individuals. And you can't control crazy always, but you can control the right to defend yourself and protect others.
Thank you. Phillips?
I'm an NRA life member. I collect guns. I've been on a lead sponsor or co-sponsor of over 40 plus bills in the House of Delegates in West Virginia. Back in the 60s, after World War II, some Navy officers from Japan, some Navy officers from America met, and one of the American officers asked the Japanese officers, why didn't y'all invade the West Coast? Well, it's real simple. We understand that every other household has a gun. And that's where the term comes from. Under every other blade of grass is a gun. It's to protect yourself. As been stated here, you can't help if somebody's mentally disabled or whatever. Guns don't kill people. People kills people. It don't take a gun to make a act of disaster. I'm sorry. I'm not giving my guns up. have I got several, what the gentleman stated, assault rifles, if that's what you want to call them. I collect a lot of guns, and I'm proud to keep them. And if you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have the guns. Thank you.
Next question.
What would you do as federal legislators to help make schools safer and make situations like Parkland, Florida not happen anymore?
Say again.
What would you do as federal legislators to make schools safer and make situations like Parkland, Florida not happen anymore?
Okay, well, as I was stating before, I believe that our schools, and I don't have one problem at all with properly trained teachers and other administrators, if they choose to have that opportunity to protect you guys. If we can't do that, then the other opportunity is we need to put enough folks, police officers, first responders, sheriffs, or whatever, on the outskirts of this property or in this building to protect you guys. If this becomes a soft zone, okay, which I kind of like to refer to, lambs in the field, the wolves will eat the lambs in the field if given an opportunity. Now, these are bad people that I'm talking about when I say the wolves. The sheep herder had to protect the lambs. And that's what we need to do. We need to find programs, whether it's provide more money to the schools, provide more money to law enforcement officers. If we create this soft zone out here where nobody in this building has a weapon to protect the people inside, then somebody on the outside better darn well be out there making sure that that doesn't happen. There's a number of other things, and you guys have the code where for access to the building, to where it's just not somebody can walk in off the street. But I can tell you that that's not perfect, and that doesn't work. You need to make sure that the guy out there in that guard shack or somebody around this property, if you're creating a soft zone, that has the opportunity to protect you guys while you're in here in this school.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was in school when Columbine happened, so I remember that's when a lot of these national conversations first started happening. I remember that, of course, it was a very scary time as that was happening, just like what just happened in Florida. But we need to look again. There's been a lot of things discussed about our teachers having the opportunity to, of course, carry firearms, and our administrators, because if they have the opportunity to help protect students, that is obviously a line of first defense if they are so willing. And then, of course, looking at security measures, a lot of security measures came into schools post Columbine, and maybe schools need to take a look at strengthening their own security, because obviously we hope that folks can be as safe as humanly possible, because we have to make sure the school is a safe place. But in looking at additional opportunities for securities and additional opportunities for, again, like I said, teachers and administrators to be able to defend themselves and others around them are always good ideas to explore. But ultimately, when we look at some of these individual cases, there are other elements of law enforcement that, of course, need to come into play. We know that what happened in Florida, that there had been well-documented incidents leading up to that involving the FBI. There were some breakdowns there, but obviously our first responders and everyone involved in the process need to be able to make sure that they can go after criminals and to prevent these tragedies before they can happen.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Back in 2014 legislative session, I introduced a bill to exactly do what we've said here and said. Let properly, highly trained educators have possession of a weapon in their classroom to protect you. I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and I'm telling you now, I want her protected when she's at school. Y'all deserve, your parents deserve every safe thought in your mind that when they send you off to school, that you're going to come home that day. And it's heartbreaking, what happened down in Florida. But there was signs, and the FBI didn't follow up with it. They should have followed up with the leads that they had and everything that was going on. And I'm going to give you a piece of advice. And you carry it on, you pass it to your little brother, little sister. If one of their friends are acting up and saying stuff, bring it to your parents' attention. Bring it to the teacher's attention. When I get to D.C., I'm going to do my best to introduce a bill. And I was just telling your vice principal a while ago, if there's an act of violent crime that ends up in death on school property, I'm all for doing the death penalty for them. Because just walking out and putting the burden on the taxpayers of the country that they're going to be in jail for the rest of their life for going in and doing something crazy like that, like what happened down in Florida, that's nonsense. So if you plan on going somewhere and doing something like that, and I get to D.C., you're going to pay the ultimate price. Thank you.
I think that there are several different answers to this question. The first one is that we do need to be certain that you're protected by individuals that are trained to repel any threat. And let's face it, evil exists in this country, but most evil is a coward. If they think that they're going to be in trouble or have to face someone with a weapon, they walk away. So for the most part, protection is the most important. But also a secondary item is we need to be certain that you're trained. That if a threat does occur, that you know what to do. That removes you from harm's way in the best possible manner and keeps you safe. Third, we need to be certain that law enforcement is trained for this type of an event. We need to be certain if something is to ever happen that law enforcement knows what to do and they know how exactly to repel that kind of a circumstance. I'm going to tell you a quick little story. My daughter, my middle daughter, was on campus in the dormitory where the shootings at Virginia Tech started a few years ago. She was there. 37 people died on that campus. The first one floor below her in the dormitory. Scared me to death. Scared her worse. I'm locked off campus. She's on the phone. She's crying an hour after all of this gets started, and she says, "Dad, I want to get out of this room." But I already told her to lock herself up and do all of that kind of thing, and I said, "Baby, you can leave that room if you have a weapon to protect yourself. Do you have a weapon to protect yourself?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, there's evil on the other side of the door. Right now, you need to do the things that are necessary to keep yourself safe." So we need to have people in place that will help to keep you safe. We need to be certain that you are prepared to keep yourself safe. And we need to be prepared if something, God forbid, ever does happen, that law enforcement is prepared to come in here and clean up the circumstance and assure on the final second that everyone here stays alive and well. Thank you.
What is your stand on climate control? How does this align with the coal industry in West Virginia?
Say it.
What is your stand on climate control, and how does this align with the coal industry in West Virginia?
I am fully supportive of the coal industry in West Virginia. I think it was attacked because a lot of crazy people on the far left made up a lot of science to attack good economic jobs here in West Virginia. And I think that we saw a lot of EPA regulations come out as a direct result of that. And, you know, one thing we think about as the federal government looks at issues involving coal and natural gas and the rest of our fossil fuels, they need to look at the economic impact of their of the devastating regulations and things that they have done over the years to put in safeguards so that what happened to us over a previous 8-year period never happens to us again.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I do not, and I repeat, I do not believe in climate change or climate whatever. I'm sorry. What I do believe in is 4 seasons, Mother Nature. The earth changes. How many parents have complained about their power bill this past winter? Can you raise your hands? Have you even thought about what your parents' power bill is? It's phenomenal. You know why? Because we've cut the coal industry out. Fossil fuel is not your enemy. Right now, coal is the technology is there to burn coal. And when you leave here today, I want you to do me one favor. Go to Google and punch in coal tree, click on images, and just see what all byproducts come from coal. It's more than what you think. Everything, your clothes, the ladies, your makeup. No, I don't believe in all this garbage that the left is slinging out there as garbage. And, you know, and Obama said it, If I can't legislate them out of business, I'll regulate them out of business. So he used EPA, MSHA, and all that to crush down. I sell electric motors to the mining industry. I felt it. My friends felt it. My customers felt it. I had friends leave this state because they couldn't stay here because there weren't any coal jobs. And I'm telling you right now, I am a war on coal survivor, and I'm proud to sit up here and on this stage today and say I'm a proud survivor of that. And I will go to D.C. and I'll make sure our fossil fuel is protected. Let me say this too. I go on almost every mine site in West Virginia for sales, and not one of them wants to hurt the environment. They do everything right. Now, if you want to look at stuff, look at China, look at India. They don't do it right. They have zero regulations. I'm not saying I'm going to go to D.C. and wipe out all the regulations. No. I don't want to pour slurry into the rivers or to the creeks and kill the fish. No, not one bit. But all this stuff on climate, it's a farce. I'm sorry. I don't want to stand with West Virginia and the coal miners of West Virginia and the energy sector of this country and keep us free and low-cost energy that we can. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just I get very upset when people tries to go on this side of the world. West Virginia's coal is phenomenally has kept West Virginia and this country free. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe God controls the climate. And I believe that there is an awful lot of scientific theory out there on both sides of this issue. But I think the thing to stress is that it's theory. There is not a proven fact that man causes climate to change. And to ruin the American economy, to ruin West Virginia's economy, based on an eclectic theory that happens to be out there in the educational community, is just beyond the pale. It's just not right. Our lives in West Virginia are worse. They're worse because someone has decided that we need to make federal policy around a theory. Trust me, when I'm in Washington, that's not going to happen. Thank you.
Folks, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to drive through southern West Virginia in the last 2 years. Those communities down there are dying on the vine. I mean, it's terrible what's happened to our coal fields. It's unbelievable, and there's been damage done that will never be repaired. When you look just a little south from us in Louisa, Kentucky, where there's a power plant there, it's called the Big Sandy Generation Plant, and they converted it to gas, which was still is a fossil fuel, but all those jobs, there were at one time 600 employees working at that power plant. You know what's operating that plant now? 30 employees. Everybody else lost their jobs. There was a terrible attack on coal in southern West Virginia, and I don't believe it was based on facts. And if the biggest problem I had with the administration that came along and attacked coal is that if there were going to make a significant shift, there was no plan going ahead to replace or help replace those jobs. Now, these were good jobs, folks. These were coal was providing money to our schools and education. And if you go down to Boone County or McDowell County now, though, they are suffering. You think we're suffering here in Huntington? The economic, in Yeager, West Virginia, those towns are becoming ghost towns. And there was no plan to replace those good-paying jobs that were being provided by coal. And it's not just the coal mines themselves. It's everything else. It's machinery, Walker Machinery. They're suffering. I don't know if they'll survive or not, to be honest with you. So, yes, we need to take a look, and and I don't disagree with these guys, but if we are harming the environment, nobody wants to harm the environment. But we have to have a plan, folks. We cannot go into this and say, we're going to wipe out this industry. Where are we going to go from here? So anyway, that's where I am. I'm going to fight to keep Cole strong. I'm going to fight to keep the Southern West Virginia strong. That's where I am.
Thank you.
What makes you qualified to be a member of the House of Representatives? What makes you qualified to be a member of the House of Representatives?
You know, why not? You know, when I ran for the House of Delegates, somebody said, "Why are you qualified?" And I looked at them and said, "Why not? What makes you qualified?" You know, I'm not sure. It all depends. But all I can tell you is that when I get to D.C., I'll make you proud. You won't be disappointed. You know, this 3rd Congressional District, when the census comes out in 2020, more than likely will be gone in the 2022 election. So therefore, when I get to D.C., I know my life expectancy is only 4 years. I've got to get reelected one time. But I know after 4 years, if I want to live longer, I got to fight. But to go to D.C. is who's qualified, who's not qualified. You know what? That's y'all's decision. That's not ours. It's easy for me to come up and go to the Secretary of State's office and sign my name up. But you know what? I can't do it unless y'all believe in me. So trust me, I will make you proud in D.C. And I will be your friend here in Huntington.
I think that's another outstanding question. You know, guys, I am a middle-class person from Bluefield, West Virginia, raised and gone to high school and college here in the state of West Virginia. Made plenty of mistakes along the way, and I've learned from those mistakes. I've done and grown. I've been a school teacher. I've worked for a manufacturing company and rose from a entry-level employee to be the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing. I own my own company now and expand upon that on a daily basis. I'm a father of 3 college-educated, trained, professional children, all with degrees and advanced level degrees who are doing well in life. In 2010, I was elected to the House of Delegates, and there's not a single soul that has ever served during my time in the House of Delegates that wouldn't tell you that I am a battle-tested, battle-scarred, hard-charging, fighting conservative. I have fought Rupee's former party on a variety of items. I have fought the Republican establishment on a variety of items. I've worked hard to get to this position where I can represent you with that same level of fervor, that same level of passion, to be certain that those of us in Southern West Virginia have the opportunity to do better, so that West Virginians can always be first, that we are always held first in Washington, held first here, and the pride that we exhibit as colleges going to the national basketball, the March Madness tournament, we can exhibit in our everyday life as we live and work to try to do better. We need that kind of leader with that kind of passion to represent us in Washington. I'm that guy.
Okay, so what are my qualifications? Folks, I came from where you are today. A lot of people don't realize that I grew up in Huntington, West Virginia, and early on as a child we lived in Markham Terrace. I fought my way all the way from Markham Terrace to the CEO of the bus system here in Huntington today. And I didn't do that easily. I started off as a bus operator for the TTA, and then it became a dispatcher, and then I've served in a number of things, but I became a dispatcher, and I realized along the way I needed more education. I didn't have the tools that I needed. So at 35 years old, I went back to Marshall and got my degree in political science, and I worked part-time jobs on weekends to pay for it. And then I went back 2 years later and earned an MBA, while at the same time I was the treasurer for the band here at Huntington High School, and coached Little League Baseball and basketball and other things. I've served on the Salvation Army. I've served on Goodwill's board. I've done everything in order just to help people, because I know what it's like to not know where your next meal's coming from. So if you send me to Washington, which I darn well hope you do, you will have an advocate that will fight for you every step of the way, and I know what it's like to fight. And so I need your help, and I know these guys want your help too, but I need your help. I want to go to Washington. I want to represent you, and I'll be the person you'll be proud of. My door will always be open. You won't get a staffer if you call my office in D.C. You'll get through to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that would make me qualified is I see problems and I know how to fix them. You know, I think about when I've never been an elected legislator in the past, and I think Washington needs folks that haven't been in elected office in the past and don't get all worried about things like amendments and, past, committee reports and things along those lines. 6 years ago, I was elected as a volunteer state chair of the West Virginia Republican Party because, frankly, I thought that the Democrat Party had done a lot of harm to our state over the last 80 years, and I wanted to change it. And I felt that the way we could change that was with a lot of conservative reforms in our state capital. So I was elected. I was the youngest one in the country. When I stepped down from that position in January, I was still the youngest one in the country. So we went out there and we recruited a lot of fighters. We recruited a lot of folks to run for office to make a difference. We recruited folks everywhere from seniors in high school on up to folks who had big storied business careers to be elected. We raised them the money, we figured out the message, and we helped them to win. Because we knew that we needed to change things in Charleston. We knew that the establishment in Charleston, we knew that all of the trade association types, all the institutional people in Charleston who'd been controlling things for such a long time in West Virginia had ruined West Virginia. So we knew we needed to shake it up, and sometimes that did take seniors in high school running for a House of Delegates and winning and bringing that perspective that we needed. So again, I see a lot of problems in Washington. I see a lot of career bureaucrats there. I see a lot of career politicians there. And I see a lot of people who don't know how to fix the problems of West Virginia, and a lot of people who don't care about West Virginia. I'm from here. I was born here. I got married this last summer. I'm looking forward to raising my family here in West Virginia because this is home. And I will always see problems and I'll always fix them because the last thing that we need are people who see obstacles. So, my resume is what it is, but I think the most important thing is I will never see a problem that's too big to tackle, and I'm never going to see an obstacle that we can't overcome.
Thank you.
Why do you want to be a member of Congress?
Mr. Gerhardt.
The answer to that question touches on a lot of what we've already talked about. So I believe in the state of West Virginia, and I believe that I have values that we all hold dear. We all spoke here at the table about the Second Amendment. I think that's important. It's a value that many or most West Virginians hold. I want to protect that. I believe as West Virginians that we can be better than anyone else in the country. West Virginia first. There's no question that we can do that. And we simply need to have the impetus to do that. We need to get the federal government off of our back when it comes to the energy segment. And to be perfectly frank, our election of President Trump has put us way down that road. We need to continue to have tax reform where we have solid low rates for individuals and business so that we all have more money in our pocket so that we can advance this economy and continue to make West Virginia great. I believe in everyone in this room. I believe as West Virginians we have great in us. And I believe in Washington I can represent those interests and make certain that the opportunity is there in front of us for us all to achieve our potential. There's no question when I go to Washington that I'm interested in everybody in this room and every West Virginian that wants to do good, that wants to do right, that wants to prosper and raise a family and do business and be successful. There's no question in my mind that we can do that in West Virginia, and I believe that I'm the person to lead us here in southern West Virginia along that path. Thank you.
Okay. Why do I want to be a member of Congress? I could very easily accept the next 10 years at the bus system here in Huntington and retired and, probably continue to serve the community as I have in the past. But I believe I can ratchet it up. I love West Virginia. I love the people of West Virginia. I'm passionate about what it takes for you to succeed in West Virginia. Nobody wants to leave. I mean, some may, but true West Virginians that want to stay want to be able to find a way to get them that opportunity to be here. I don't know what else to say other than I will represent you well. I thought this was an opportunity to carry my message that I've done all my life, is to help people in West Virginia and people of Huntington, and now I want to expand it to southern West Virginia. So send me there. Vote for me. I know that some of you are Republicans, some of you are Democrats. At the end of the day, I had a very wise old politician tell me, and many of you will know Chuck Romine, or may have read in the paper about Chuck, very good friend of mine, Republican. And he said, Paul, if you do the right thing with people, do the right thing, and politics will take care of itself.
Thank you.
I want to represent our values and make sure that West Virginia is never overlooked in Washington, D.C., as we so often are. Right now, I want to go and I want to help support President Trump's agenda. I want to continue all down the path of tax reform. I want to continue down the path of helping our energy industry. I want to continue down the path of putting more money back in your pockets and getting it out of Washington, D.C., so that we can make positive differences here back at home, because I'm a firm believer that you know, and your parents know, and everybody who has a paycheck knows it better to do with their lives and their money than what the federal government does. A great president once said, the worst thing you can ever hear is the sentence, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. So I tell you, I want to always make sure that West Virginia stays at the forefront of every conversation in Washington, D.C. And in many ways, that's trying to keep the government out of here. But in some ways, it's trying to make sure that the government doesn't forget about us and forget about the hardworking people here. I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. I'm going to be buried in West Virginia. My family's been in West Virginia for hundreds of years. This is my home, and this will always be my home, as I hope this will always be the home to everybody in this room. And I want to make sure that West Virginia truly has an ambassador to Washington, someone who actually can make a difference, and someone who has the instantaneous credibility to walk into a room anywhere on Capitol Hill to make sure that West Virginia is always defended, and to make sure that West Virginia is truly always first, and it's not just some talking point. Promise you that I want to be in Congress because I want to serve us, and I want us to all work on things together, and it's going to be a great term because I always want to make sure that West Virginia is in every conversation, be it from tax reform, be it to energy, be it to infrastructure, and I've got the credibility to do it.
Thank you.
You know, it's real simple for me, as I stated a while ago. Sophia Lauren Phillips, that's my little 8-year-old. I want to go to D.C. for her future, for your future, for her kids' future. I want to make, as it's been echoed here, I want to bring West Virginia on up to the top of the chain. Unlike a lot of things you hear, you know, West Virginia has been 48th in this, or last in this, or 40th, or whatever. I want West Virginia in the top 10, in the top 5. I want to go to D.C. I want to make, like I said, I want to make her proud. I want to make you proud. I want to make West Virginia proud. And I'm telling you, I'll go to D.C. and I won't give up on you. As Marty said, he's a salesman. I'm a salesman. I work for someone. I didn't grow up rich. My daddy was a 32-year coal miner, union coal miner. And he taught me to get out and get to work and work hard, make friends. In my sales job, my product doesn't sell, I sell. I sell me. If they like you, they'll buy from you. If DC likes me, they'll vote with me. They'll listen to me. They'll listen to the concerns of West Virginia. And I promise you again, I will make you proud. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last question, and now we're going to allow the candidates to do a 1-minute wrap-up. Mr. Seals will let you see when your time is running down, and I have my little handy-dandy pile here.
Okay. Okay, well. Oh, you're going to do it.
Yeah. Mr. Gerhardt, you win the honor of going first.
Okay. I apologize, I gave the microphone up. I thought we were still in order. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe in West Virginia first. West Virginia first. I don't want to be 48th, and I'm not going to say 48th. We want to be number one. Anything else is less than acceptable. Our plan is posted on our website. We'll show you a path to a better West Virginia economy. I believe that we can keep West Virginia safe. We need to do that a variety of ways. One is by making certain that our country has the best, strongest, best equipped military on the face of the planet. We need to stand with President Trump. Regardless of what you might think of President Trump on Twitter, he's governed as a conservative. We've seen our taxes go down. All of your parents are paying less taxes now. We need to support him when it comes to immigration and building a wall. We need to continue to defend West Virginia values, the right to life, the Second Amendment. And we need, last and finally, and maybe even foremost, we need to find ways to get drugs out of our community and to keep those from damaging those of us in the state of West Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, we can be the best. We need the best leader. I believe in this race, the best leader is Marty Gearhart. I would appreciate your vote in May and again in November. Thank you.
Mr. Lucas.
It's been an honor to be here. You know, it's like I saw the weather report this morning. Of course, I figured you all were hoping for a snow day, as opposed to hearing all of us chatter on. But, you know, I thought about, you know, when I walked in, I see, of course, the gym here is partially named after Lonnie Lucas. That's my cousin here, who's been in the basketball business here at Huntington High for a long time. So if you like him, I'll claim him. If you don't, then I won't. But, you know, I think about that. I think about the ties to our community that we all have, and how we're all West Virginians, and we all care about that. But what we have to care about is the future. And when I think about the things I want to accomplish in Washington, I obviously want to stand with President Trump. I think the most important thing that we can do is to drain the swamp and to change the system in Washington, to get rid of so many of the people who've caused West Virginia so many problems for so long. That's what I attempted to do in my capacity, previous capacity with the West Virginia Republican Party, was to get rid of all the bad people in Charleston who did bad things to us and hurt our state. And that's what I want to do in Washington. I plan to, like I said, I plan to raise my family here in West Virginia. I'm going to be going through a lot of the same things that many of you will. I believe in our young people. That's why we actively recruited folks always to run for office, to make sure that those voices are represented. And I want to make a difference in the long term here in our state. Yes, I want the tax reform to become permanent, and I want it to get even better. Yes, I want us to fix our immigration system and build a wall. Yes, I want us to end our drug problems by strengthening our economy and going after the very criminals who put us in this situation, be they corporate CEOs or be they the drug dealers down the street. We need to do a lot of things here, and I want to do them with you. I want to go through this entire representative experience, always making sure that you know that you can come to my door, come to my house, come to my office, call me on my cell phone to make sure that if we have problems, we can fix them together. Because West Virginia is the greatest state in the United States of America, and it's time that we can put ourselves on the map. We get government out of our lives, and we make sure that we can prosper as a state. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to say good luck to Huntington High tonight in Charleston. I want to say go herd in the tournaments. And you know, when I first got elected, or my first campaign, my platform was real simple: God, coal, and guns. I have not wavered, not one bit. If you ever see me out traveling around, you'll notice a license plate that says Coaldale. When I first said I was going to get Coaldale, someone said, "You're not going to make many friends in Charleston." I said, "You know what? I don't care. Because those people in Charleston at the Capitol, they don't vote for me. The people in my district votes for me." I have not one bit even wavered on any three of those campaign promises of God, coal, and guns. If you go to the Capitol, they'll tell you that. What can you tell me about Rupee? If you got a question about God or coal or guns, go see Rupee. He'll give you the answer. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's real simple, as I stated. I'm from Logan County. It's one of the smallest of the 18 counties. I'm handicapped, sure. Absolutely, I'm handicapped. But you know what? I'm a fighter. And if y'all have ever seen that little cartoon where the frog has got the bird by the throat and the frog is halfway down the bird's mouth, you know what? Never give up. I'm the one that will never give up on West Virginia. I'll never give up on you. Vote for me on May 8th. Rupi Phillips for Congress. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I guess they saved the best for last. I don't know. These guys would disagree. Anyway, I really want to thank you guys for having us today. It's been a great opportunity for us to get our message out. And I will tell you that I am a proud Democrat. I'm not a super far left Democrat. I'm more of a moderate Democrat. And I just want to say, if you send me, and I hope you do, send me to Washington, D.C., I am going to fight for you guys. You guys are our future. You're exactly why we're here. I'm still going to fight for coal. No matter what the far left had done, we're going to fight for coal. Education, that's going to be one of my main emphasis. Our senior citizens, and let's not forget about our seniors. There's so many seniors right now that are living on, I mean, really $600 or less a month. I don't know how they're doing it and paying their bills. We must not forget our veterans. We have this right today because of our veterans and our first responders. You know, the price of freedom is not cheap. And if there's a veteran in this room, or some of you folks are going into one of our U.S. Army or one of our military branches, thank you. We need you to support us and help us. You are the very reason why we don't have actually wars on our home soil. So, with that being said and done, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here. I'm a Huntington guy, so hope that means something to you. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be fighting every day I can for you guys, because you guys are our future in Washington, in West Virginia. And so I'm your guy in D.C., and I hope you vote for me on May the 8th.
Thank you. Could we have a round of applause for our candidates, please? And a round of applause for you. Thanks for all of your preparation, for your teachers who helped to prepare you, and to the legal voters who helping you sponsor the meeting. Remember, the YouTube will be up in a couple of days. Remember that Mr. Dean and Ms. Eves are out here to help you register to vote, or any questions about where to vote, any of that sort of thing. We do have a little bit of time for the candidates to be down. If you have further questions or want to shake hands or offer encouragement, then do that. And now,
Okay, everybody listen. Everybody listen. All right, I know. All right, so a couple of short things. First of all, again, remember, if you have questions about voters registration, if you need to correct anything, if you don't know where your precinct is, if you've lost your card already, you'll just go out the door right here into the music hallway, and they will take care of that for you, all right? Also, when we are done, you are going to go back to third period, because if you just noticed, that was just the start of the third period bell. Your third period teacher then will take roll, and that's how you'll get credit for, being here. I want to thank everybody for turning in questions. Again, for those of you that came in later, we took all of the questions, and I had about 100. And sorted them out into the ones you asked the most. Some people asked very specific questions, and I'm sorry we just don't have time to do that. But we took the ones that you all asked the most and put them in order, so that's where those questions came from. Let's see what else. We have Mrs. Miller's son, who's willing to speak with anybody. We've got our 4 candidates here who are willing to speak to people. So if you want to take a couple of minutes, you can do that before you go to third. The very last thing I want to do before we get ready to leave is we did a campaign in December to get our kids registered to vote. Okay, Lee came down, we had the clerk in, and are we up to about 90%? You remember? I don't know, Donna did this before she retired, so I'm not sure. But we have a large number of our students who are registered. So I thought before we left, I would just ask everyone who has already registered to vote, please stand. So, guys, on May 8th, you all can vote for one of these people.